Well, shalom all. This is your brother Martyn. Coming back to you after a while. Abba finally told me to do some tables on these train derailments. Let's go back in time. So I took the screenshot literally after I was told to go and find these tables that relate to these derailments. And, there was a whole lot of these all at one time, like a dozen of them, all within a few days. And they've kept on happening. There's really only a few things that the central scrutinizer can do to supersede the power of the states. There's specifically three words. There's a T word, a P word, and a C word. And I'm going to start with the last one. I'll talk about those other ones in upcoming videos, but the last one, the C word, is what relates to these derailments, and that could be chemicals, but I'm calling it contamination, especially if you have contamination across state lines. Then it's kind of a federal thing, and they can just take over and send FEMA in, because they love taking over and sending in FEMA to help everybody. So at the time, I just put in this train derailments in the last 3 weeks, and it wasn't just Ohio. There was ones in Michigan and all over the place. Houston, anyway, they've been all over the place, as you know. And it's sort of like not the best handled thing, almost. But anyway, that's not really what I'm here to talk about. I'm bringing up these derailments because when I was told to do this video, I had seen another code table. And after that, I heard, don't forget about the snake. And I was thinking to myself, what snake are you talking about, Abba? And I had just a couple nights before watched this video, Bullet Train. And it's got Brad Pitt in it. And it's actually pretty funny, even though it's like gruesome humor. And there's a snake on it that comes up in the movie all the time because of poisoning that's going on here. And they're poisoning people with the venom of the snake. And the snake on the train is called, well, it looks like boom slang, but it's actually boomslung. And so this boomslung snake has this, it's highly, as you can see, it is a highly venomous snake. When what's interesting about this highly venomous snake that happens to be on this train with Brad Pitt is that, Brad Pitt is an assassin in that movie, by the way. And in fact, he's poisoning people with the venom of that snake, but just so happens that one of the snakes is actually also on the train. Anyway, I'm not going to get into the plot because it's kind of crazy, because it's a comedy. You can watch it if you want. It's actually a fun watch. But it comes back to Abba telling me not to forget about the snake when I think about these derailments. So well, other than the fact that the movie was about a train ride on a bullet train with a snake on it, what does that have to do with all these derailments? Okay, so the C word being contamination, and having, FEMA come and clean it up for you. I was given all these in just around the time that I saw this code found by Brother Scott Bunnell, who was talking about the derailment in Ohio. And he found it encoded with the year and the term wormwood, which means to make waters bitter. Wormwood is the thing used in absinthe, which makes it bitter. And it's also associated with an event that makes the waters bitter, and there's maybe a red star. And anyway, different people have different theories depending on how you read scripture. But, I'm not coming up with all those theories here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some codes first that I was told to do to confirm Brother Scott's code, and of course I found the confirming code, but at the same time I was told not to forget about the snake. So I've also found the codes about the bomb slang, and I will explain to you why it's significant. Now, if you watch the movie, you will know that what happens when you are poisoned with the venom of the bomb slang is that it's kind of like getting Ebola. You will bleed all over the place. And, well, it's way scarier than any recent P word, which is pandemic, that you might have experienced. Because if you had something like Ebola, well, you're not just going to get over that real quick. That is nasty. And in fact, the venom of this bomb slang has the same effect as that so-called virus. So, in any case, let's get to the code tables, and I'm going to show you the artwork that I have found. Again, once a disclaimer, I am not making predictions, I am not making accusations, I'm simply pointing out statistical anomalies in a 3,000-year-old book, which is the Bible, and I'm rendering them as the artwork we know called Bible codes. And so this is the first one, which is, the access term is the name of the snake. And so this one is actually interesting because all of these terms are in it. And we have associated terms that those who follow Bible codes might find, like Abaddon, Magog, and those sorts of things, and I'll get into those in a minute. But the main thing here is that the snake is encoded with this set of terms around America, Wormwood, Ohio, and contamination. And, in fact, the spelling of waters of bitterness, and she is defiled, from Numbers, Book 5. And I'll get into the significance of Numbers, Book 5 in just a minute. So, let's look at the table. So, pretty interesting table. Not particularly, statistically significant. Interesting that all these things are here, not in... But on its own, this might not be as interesting as the other tables I'm going to show you in combination with it. But yes, the name of the snake is encoded with this event. And so, and it's not encoded in a weak way. All of these terms cross each other. We have contaminate crossing America, waters of bitterness crossing that, all of them connecting with Wormwood, and then the access term bomb slang, with Ohio and Abaddon parallel, crossing that, connecting to the venom. And so, of course, it's the venom of the bomb slang, and we all know the effects that that has. And sort of up in this area up here, contamination, and she is defiled. And the she is talking about America. And of course, we have Obama's name here, which always seems to show up when we're talking about these sorts of things. So let's get into some of the other things here. So that snake we weren't supposed to forget about, the bomb slang, is actually associated with this event that Brother Scott Bunnell found. And this is not the table that confirms that, because this is about a snake, but the next table will be the one that confirms that. But I want to talk to you about Numbers chapter 5 first, and what that means. This was brought up by, when I first showed this evidence to a dear sister of mine, who brought up the fact that Numbers chapter 5 is about the test the priest gives to a woman to find out if she has been defiled at the accusation of her husband. And so they go to the priest, and the instructions in Numbers are to take the holy water and he will, and then take some of the soil on the floor of the temple and put it in to the water, and to put it in the hand of the woman. And if she is defiled, it will become the waters of bitterness that bring the curse. So anyway, this is the actual Hebrew for that. If we go to the next verse after this, 5:18, you'll see that here's the Hebrew for, that thing where he puts the water mixed with the earth into her hands, and if she's defiled, it becomes the waters of bitterness that bring the curse, because she is defiled. So you can see here the Hebrew Strong's numbers associated with each one of these words. You can see the translation of bum slang into Hebrew. All of these things are the things that we're finding in these tables associated with this event in Ohio around the train derailments. All right, so let's move on to the next code table. And this is that term, waters of bitterness, that I just showed you in the previous slide from the interlinear scripture analyzer. Those exact Hebrew characters for waters of bitterness in Numbers 5:18. Now, what's very interesting about this table is that this information is encoded in the plain text, because we have waters of bitterness at a skip of 1. So this is the plain text, literally encoded around this description of the woman being defiled, is this derailment event in Ohio in 2023 that contaminates and causes the waters of bitterness that show that she is defiled, the woman. Some might say the whore of Babylon. But I digress. As you can see, this table is in a small area, mostly in Numbers 5, but stretching from Numbers 4 to Numbers 7. But as you can see, that term is right in the center of it. And when you see the structure of this table, you're going to be, I think, pretty impressed, because it's pretty dense and there's a lot going on here. So let me walk you through it. We have the way that the Hebrew writes it out is waters of bitterness, but I just put bitter waters so I wouldn't have to write it, have it go all the way across here. Anyway, waters of bitterness here in the plain text. So this is Numbers 5 running right through here. That passage about the priest putting this into the hand to determine if the woman's defiled. So that passage crosses right through Ohio. And so now now this is interesting. I just noticed the fact that the year is encoded at a skip of 15 up here in Numbers 4:40 through 41. So I'm actually not going to go look at that. I'll probably go look at that after I'm done with this and edit it back in here to see if it's significant. And if I haven't, then it wasn't significant. But anyway, let's go back to the table. So we have bitter waters in the plain text, and crossing it, the same term as an ELS at a skip of -281. And then we have crossing that bitter waters, wormwood, and the same word crossing itself, wormwood again. So both bitter waters, wormwood, wormwood. And right sort of in the center of all that is she is defiled. And again, contamination that crosses bitter water, the year, and Ohio. Now, as we know from other tables, if you've been following my channel or any of the other code searcher channels, you will know that vertical terms are significant. So we have two vertical terms, Ohio and contaminate. So these are obviously closely related. And now we have two sort of actors in here, Obama and Abaddon. And interestingly enough, the word the hay in the word tribulation, that is also connected to all of this is shared by the Hay in Obama's name. So tribulation and Obama connect at the same character right above Abaddon and right at bitter water. So these things are all connected in here. Pretty amazing. Okay, again, we have the year here, 2023, or Hey Tov Shin Pei Beit, which is 5782, which went until just recently, since this is now March 25th is when I'm recording this video. And it just turned this week, so we are now in 5783. However, this event occurred prior to last week, so it was still in 5782, which is Hey Tao Shin Pei Beit. So here we have Hey Tao Shin Pei Beit. And right above that is Magog. And it was interesting. I was talking about this with my brothers and sisters, and I was just over in London. You can Google this, that there are these protectors of London, and one of them is Gog. So you can Google Gog and London, and it will tell you all about that. And what's interesting is in Hebrew, one of my brothers, Brother Doug, pointed this out, that the mem means from when you attach it as a prefix to a word. So if you have Gimel Wav Gimel, which is Gog, and you put mem in front of it, you get Magog, but it also means from Gog. And we're talking about she is defiled, and it's a country, and we know that the country is America. And what country came from Gog, meaning England and London? Well, that would be from Magog. That would be America. We were settled by the British, right? We came from Gog. Anyway, so if you didn't need any more to think about there, we also have in here, where is it? The venom right here. So, what's interesting is we're talking about bitter waters and contamination, but there is the venom, and of course we're talking about the bone slang because there's another table with these same terms in it that has the name of the snake in it. So, and in fact, I saw a video on YouTube of people who say they're getting sick in East Palestine, Ohio, or Palestine, I guess is the way they say it there. And this video said, my neighbor's throwing up blood. So I'm not going to make any connection there, but if you're watching this video in the future and there seems to be a lot of people bleeding with whatever this contamination is, well, you might think about what these tables are showing you in this artwork. All right, this last table is derailment. And it is, again, all of these things. America, Wormwood, Ohio, the year, Abaddon, tribulation, Wormwood, Magog, so a lot of the same terms that we've been talking about. And an additional one, which is the name of this, again, a P word. It would be a highly contagious pandemic associated with all this. So, or somebody might be, say, simulating such with this contamination. So again, just coincidences, statistical coincidences in a 3,000-year-old book that I didn't put there. This is the underlying text of the Bible in Hebrew. I'm just simply highlighting the skips that show you the words that are encoded there. And you can determine whether there's any significance. And of course, I'm not predicting or accusing or doing anything like that. I'm just pointing out the statistical anomalies that I've found encoded there that relate to, say, this event that Brother Scott Bunnell also found encoded using a different code program and a different technique. So let's talk about this derailment one. So in the center we have the access term derailment, in this case vertical. In this turn we have again contamination crossing through that, Magog, tribulation, and then America. Crossing America we have wormwood. So wormwood would be the thing that makes the waters bitter. And then we have the year parallel to that. So wormwood in 2023, connected with contamination, connected to the venom, right next to vertically Ohio. So the fact that derailment, Ohio, in America are all vertical means there's a strong relationship between those three terms in this table. And then we have this term for this pathogen, Marburg, that causes very similar symptoms to the venom of a boomslang, and it is crossing the year 2023 and parallel to wormwood. But in these other tables, if you find things that are at small skips like this, the year encoded in numbers 4, tribulation in numbers 4 and 5, these are interesting things to look at in the plain text to see what the plain text says. I think the plain text of numbers 5 is pretty clear of who's, what is the woman who's being tested? Who is she? Where did she come from? Gog. And what does this contamination mean from these derailments? It's just going to get you thinking about this Bible code artwork that I've shown you here today. So with that, I'm going to say we are all of us in the remnant in our Father Yahuwah's hands, and he is taking care of us and pointing out these things so that we aren't troubled by them, that this is part of his plan. Till next time, shalom.